Every year, the workday starts earlier and the pressure increases. Yet for many, the cost of living rises faster than the effort you put in. At the same time, the wealth of the top 1% continues to accelerate, driven by growing businesses and climbing stock market valuations. This gap suggests a question. Are the wealthy simply more capable, or are they operating under a different set of economic rules? Most people are playing a financial game that is weighted heavily against them from the start. If the goal is rewarding the worker, the current structure seems to be missing its mark. We are taught a simple progression. Go to school, get a job, work very hard, and the rewards will follow. But looking at the labor market reveals a contradiction. Millions of people execute this plan every day, yet their bank accounts remain stagnant. If wealth were the direct result of physical labor, those on construction sites, working delivery routes, and hospital floors would be among the most affluent people in the world. Since that isn't the case, we have to identify the mechanism that the economy actually prioritizes over hard work. The primary hurdle for most workers is the practice of trading their time for a fixed wage or salary. Because an individual has limited hours to sell, their income capacity hits a mathematical ceiling. The wealthy focus on a different path, acquiring assets like real estate, stocks, and technology platforms. These assets produce income regardless of schedule, generating value even while they sleep. This is the core distinction. Most people work to earn money, while the rich acquire things that make money for them. To build wealth, income must eventually be separated from the hours spent awake. There is a secondary force that accelerates this gap, and it's something rarely covered in the classroom: inflation. Inflation makes cash less valuable over time. It shows up as higher rent, more expensive groceries, and rising fuel costs. Even when a worker receives a small raise, it is often canceled out by the general loss of purchasing power across the economy. The wealthy rarely keep their savings in cash. Instead, they move their capital into assets that are tethered to the rising costs. When inflation pushes prices up, the value of those assets often moves in the same direction, protecting the owner's wealth. Effectively, as the purchasing power of the worker's dollar shrinks, the value of the owner's asset grows. In this way, inflation functions as a hidden tax on the laborer and a subsidy for the asset holder. The trap is completed when rising costs are paired with consumer debt, things like credit card balances and car loans. Interest payments create a constant financial drain, forcing people into a cycle where they only focus on the next bill rather than the next year. This constant pressure makes it nearly impossible to save enough to invest, as income is spoken for before it even arrives. Meanwhile, those with existing capital use periods of economic instability to buy assets when prices are low. Between debt and inflation, the modern economy is built to keep the worker focused on survival rather than ownership. For decades, access to opportunity was limited by where you lived and who you knew. Today, the combination of the internet and artificial intelligence has removed many of those physical barriers. We are seeing the rise of digital assets. A single person with a laptop can now build an audience, a software tool, or an automated brand that reaches a global market. These digital creations act just like traditional property. They provide a way to generate income that isn't tied to a specific location or a set number of hours. Ownership is no longer exclusive to those with large amounts of capital. It is now accessible to anyone with a connection. Despite having the tools to build, most people spend their time online as passive consumers, scrolling through a feed designed to capture their attention. A smaller group is doing the opposite, learning to use the same technology to create and own. In a changing economy, the ability to use these tools to build assets is becoming a requirement for long-term stability. You can spend the next decade participating in the system as a consumer, or you can start building your own assets within it.